Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services, including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various legal issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Tom, we've been talking about horror stories that we have to deal with in the medical assistance planning environment. And one of the classic horror stories that is recurring all of the time is this absolute perception perpetuated by the lay public, unfortunately unscrupulous product sales persons, is that all you need to do is get a trust. The government has never figured out trust. You just put it in a trust and everything is hunky-dory.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the folks who promulgate these things are pretty good salespeople, and they'll tell you anything they need to do to sell those things. But the reality is they are just papers that in many cases aren't custom built for that couple or that individual, and they create many more problems than they fix.
The government is paranoid about trust.
They are.
Paranoid about trust.
Right. And
so the reality, as soon as we're dealing in the long-term care environment and there's a trust, we're going to have intense scrutiny. And there's a whole sequence of rules, both in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and across the country, designed to put assets in trust at risk for long-term care bills.
Well, exactly. And so since the state doesn't like them, they don't trust them, they don't understand them, they will, in most cases, in every case we deal with, will not approve a married couple's application if there are assets remaining in a trust.
So they create that trust, they put their house in it. House was exempt whether it was owned by mom, dad, or it was owned by them jointly, but if it's in a trust, it's an available resource.
Right, so the first thing we do is we've got to get it out, but the second problem is maybe we can't because of the language which some salesperson put in there that had no idea what would later happen.
You know, and these trusts are being sold for asset protection. And one of the things about it is that term can apply to a lot of different things. You know, most of the states in our region, it's marginal for protecting from creditors, probably doesn't work at all.
Yeah,
but just even giving it every benefit of the doubt. But when they hear asset protection, it's spoken in the context of creditors. People then extrapolate it to nursing homes, which has a completely different set of rules, completely unrelated to creditor rules, and it essentially never works in the Medicaid environment.
Yeah, and in most cases it's unnecessary. And so what happens is people go through all these convoluted gyrations, moving assets, creating these documents, and they later find out, wait a minute, I got to undo all this stuff because I can't get benefits from my spouse or myself. And that's the reality.
And because, yeah, but I heard irrevocable trusts work, and there is a possibility of an irrevocable trust working, but you have to part with control of the money. You cannot have control of that money. You cannot have a right to principal. So the only thing you can get out of it during lifetime is income. You know, you look at the income that you see from conservative investments, that's 1%. Well, the reality is most people need more than 1% off of their resources in order to be able to support themselves the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and you'll see that. And a lot of things change over the years and waves of rule changes. And so, again, the trusts are less desirable in my mind than they've ever been.
And depending on how they're done, they can actually result in taxation at the trust level. And ironically, trusts very quickly have a tax rate that's in excess of most people watching this program. And so while you may have protected it from one thing, you may have actually created even a bigger economic issue by the use of a trust.
Yeah, you only have to make about 12 grand in a trust or estate, and all of a sudden you're at the very highest tax brackets, where if that individual is receiving that income, there would be no tax. So
Or
it's
minimal tax.
Or minimal, and yeah, it's a disaster.
There is no guaranteed answer. Everything has to be worked. It's not an auto reject on trust, but boy, most of the time they don't make sense.
Yeah, and you got to think it through and get the right answers, and then make a good decision.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to a special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various financial issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Matt Hurley from Hurley Auctions. Matt, we always have a lot of fun talking about both the challenges associated with breaking down houses, whether it be downsizing or estate administration, but also families trying to figure out what's worth something.
Yeah. I was in 3 houses yesterday, Mike, all the same situation. Mom had passed away. What do we do now? And they were anything from I couldn't move to get through the house to very few things, but still it was overwhelming. And they just didn't know where to start.
And the problem is we'll talk a little bit in this segment here, is there's been quite a shift in the demographics of buyers. You know, the stuff that people viewed as important 20, 30 years ago, the current buyers don't care much about. In fact, in those items, you principally have sellers, not buyers.
Yes.
But then you have an evolution to other materials that people now like today.
Yeah, it's changed. It's unbelievable. In the past 25 years that I've been in the business, I would have never dreamed some of the furniture I sold 20 years ago would now be worth half what it is, and some of the furniture I used to throw in a dumpster is now worth hundreds of dollars, and it's changed that much over the last 10 years especially.
And of course we get the sterling silver, you know, just really valued way, way beyond melt, 30 years ago. Today, unfortunately, that artistry is not recognized.
Just not appreciated. The younger generation would much rather have plasticware that they can throw away at the end of the day. They don't want to be bothered by cleaning and storing and things like that. It's a much different group of buyers we have.
All right, and so as we look at that, we obviously, people come in, they're looking at things that they think have value, and it turns out maybe it doesn't. And so let's just take a look at a few things here. And also one of the benefits of the way your organization does it, it's internet sales.
That's right.
So that you have items that may be of interest to other people in the country that may not be of great interest locally. And because you have more than 12,000 bidders, you can typically find people who might have interest in it that would not have shown up at your yard sale.
We can specifically target a market, a certain group of people that collect a certain item all throughout the world with the click of a button. And so it's really changed everything we do.
And then, of course, rule number 1 is?
Don't throw anything away.
It's just amazing what people value. We have some interesting items here. Let's first of all, that's a beautiful painting here. Obviously, it's of a barn. Is it a local barn?
It is. This is the barn at Renfrew, and this is by a local artist, Robert Morrow. Robert passed away, and the reason I brought this along is this is valuable in Waynesboro, Franklin County, Washington County. Outside of this area, it's not very valuable. However, when I advertise this, buyers from all over the country that may have been from here can see it and bid on it, even though they're not in Waynesboro. So you no longer have to be a local buyer. We sold a painting not long ago that was from the Midwest artist. It was sold in Pennsylvania. It sold for nearly $30,000 and went to a buyer in the Midwest, all because of the internet.
Well, we see this. I know my wife's a buyer on the internet of postcards from her hometown. We don't live anywhere close to her
That's
hometown.
right. That's right.
All right, well, let's just kind of move this one out of the
Okay.
way here. And now, Frick Company, which is a famous institution in this area.
It is.
It's now a subsidiary of York, I believe, an international company, but it still operates in Waynesboro and still operates under that name. And of course, we have a huge history in this community. So, for instance, we have a number of their price lists and so forth. And this here is actually a book that was published in, what, 1928?
1928. It was 75 years of progress.
Right.
Back in 1928. The reason I brought this, Mike, is this is the stuff that gets thrown away. Oh, this is from 1928. It's old history. This is valuable. And what's nice about this one, it even has the original letter from Ezra Frick, the president. And so everything you can add adds value. Condition, the letter. It is a valuable.
So somebody who has a grandparent that worked for Frick and they still, you know, might say, you know what, I want to have a piece of that from my grandparents, and obviously it's better than having it in the trash. Now, what do we have here?
Well, I brought two of these, and these are just fun to look at. This is the 1902 and the 1903 price list from the Geyser Manufacturing Company and Frick Company engineers. And it's just so much fun to look through and see what you could buy a tractor for back then. And these are things that just get thrown away because they go in that drawer Grandma had, and the kids look in and think, what a mess. There goes the drawer. That could have been thousands of dollars of treasures. And so I brought these just because they look like nothing. But these are really just neat items you just don't find in this condition. So there's a tractor for $1,800 for an original Peerless steam plowing outfit.
And that's more important. They were selling steam tractors then.
That's right.
You know, it was not, you know, internal combustion tractors.
Exactly.
I know on the front of these it says steam engines of all size and power.
Yeah.
You know, they had wooden water trailers to haul water to job sites and so forth.
And what's neat is you can find it all in here and what it cost.
What it costs.
And so this is stuff that gets thrown away every day.
That's
every
pretty
day.
cool. Now, this is just a different variation of that.
Just some more. This is Frick Company 1896 ice making refrigeration and machinery.
Which they're still famous
They're
for
still
refrigeration
famous for.
that
Yeah.
today. And what
And
do we
again,
have?
just one more, a history of Frick Company, Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. This is a later edition. This is the 1953. So this is 100 years. We saw it 75 years, now 100 years. And again, something just local people want to have as part of their collection to remember what Grandma did or Grandpa did.
Well, that's really cool. Now, as you know, we talk about this stuff. Unfortunately, you know, the evolution of tastes leave people kind of startled sometimes. Stuff that they thought might have great value turns out not to have much value, and we have an example of that here.
Yeah, I did bring some along today, and it's absolutely beautiful. Very nice, excellent condition. It's depression glass. And 25 years ago, I would have bidders fighting for this, and today I fight to find a buyer for it. And so, but there's good news about this, Mike. Even though this isn't worth much, the stuff I threw away 25 years ago is now valuable. And so there's a trade-off. And so when I go into a home and they say, Matt, this is Mom's treasures. Well, show me the stuff Mom didn't like in the basement, because that's where the money is.
Matt, as always, thanks for taking time to
Thank
appear
you.
on the program.
Good to be here.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Guys, I thought you were supposed to be working in the yard.
But Dad, just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com.
If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. My guest today is Jennifer Flaim, radiologist, associated radiologist, with some extra training. Tell me a little bit about it.
So I did my my residency training, my initial training out in Dayton, Ohio, and then I came back to Maryland to do special training in women's health and specifically in breast imaging.
All right, when we talk about breast imaging, everybody's pretty well aware that it is a major health risk for women.
Yes, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime.
And so what's the protocol for when people should begin mammograms?
So right now the guidelines that we're following are at age 40, women will begin getting a yearly mammogram. We see some women earlier than that if they come with a specific complaint. And also in between those yearly mammograms, if someone develops a problem, we're always happy to see them. But yearly after the age of 40 is when we recommend screening.
I understood that sometimes people who might have a significant family history might even start earlier.
Yes, if someone has a premenopausal breast cancer, if they have genetic risk factors for breast cancer, then we alter the screening protocol based on that if someone has increased risk. And there's different risk assessment models that we can look at that often will come through the Center for Breast Health, or they'll be referred from their primary care physician because they have a significant risk, and we can assess that and then tailor their screening program.
And one of the things we want to mention right out of the gate here, if there's anybody here that's resource challenged watching this, they should definitely contact your organization and the support organizations.
Yes, there are multiple support organizations for screening at the very least to help people get their mammograms, and we see people like that every day, and we're always happy to see them.
All right, now you made mention to the fact once a year. Now we have some people that are very concerned about exposure to radiation.
Yes, the radiation risk, it's always on the top of our, it's on our radar. It's something that we look at over and over again, the radiation versus the benefit that you get from it, and particularly in a screening program where lots of patients won't have breast cancer and they're getting a small dose of radiation anyhow. But it is a very small dose. And they have done research on whether or not it's significant or not, and the additional yearly radiation dose it's outweighed by the benefit of finding early breast cancers.
And of course, breast cancer diagnosing early really significantly improves outcomes.
Yes, you can have a much less invasive treatment. Sometimes it's the difference between just having a small lumpectomy versus having chemotherapy and a mastectomy. So it can be significant finding it early.
Now, if you do have a diagnosis of breast cancer, you have a very comprehensive team that works on this. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, we have a wonderful team through the Center for Breast Health, which is right next to our imaging suite, and that encompasses breast surgeons. We have oncologists, radiation oncologists. We have nursing coordinators who help to get patients to all of the appointments that they need when they get a diagnosis of breast cancer, which is very overwhelming. And we also have genetic counseling. Really it's just a complete collaborative effort to come up with an individualized plan for every patient, and we meet several times a month and go over all of these new cases and challenging cases so that we can really tailor a treatment and make it patient specific.
Now, I know that one of the concerns that you have, and particularly focused on trying to get people started on this early in their lives, is that some of the disease is more aggressive if it's discovered in a younger person.
Yes, in young women we tend to see more aggressive cancers. And so early detection and screening is really instrumental in finding those early cancers so we can get them to treatment.
And of course, there's a lot of controversy right now on how often it should be done. And I know that in your role as being a person dealing with diagnosis positive all the time, it's a struggle to suggest people should extend out any.
It is. When you see someone who has developed a cancer in a year, and you know that last year there was nothing visibly detectable, and in just 1 year you can see something and intervene, and someone can be cancer-free and a cancer survivor. I think that's very significant, knowing that it could have waited an entire another year. And so I think the research is important. I think we have to look at all of the information, but from when you're sitting in the hot seat and seeing these things every day, it would be very difficult for me to suggest that someone forego a year of mammogram.
And of course, when you start at age 40 then and you do it every year, or even if it's every 2 years if you subscribe to that, you still now have an image, and so it's easier to compare that image against a change.
Yes, comparisons are critical. And so, I always try to make sure that patients know, even if they're coming to us from another practice, we need those old images. That also helps prevent additional imaging and recalls when we can compare it to something old and know whether that was there, whether it's new. Those things are really important for us to have, so we try to emphasize that, especially when we get new patients, which we love to get.
Dr. Flaim, thank you for taking time to appear on our program.
Thank you so much.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation has helped create signs of community strength for more than 30 years. Scholarships assist with post-secondary education, and grants support programs throughout Frederick County. Making a big impact. Because of generous donors like you. Add your sign of community strength by creating a fund that supports the causes you care about.
Albright Crumbacker Mal and Itel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services, including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. Making Sense focuses on the financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today, Sandra Miller, Senior Vice President at the Family Heritage Trust Company. Welcome, Sandy.
Thanks for inviting me, Michael.
And one of the drivers of the creation of the Family Heritage Trust Company, among a number of other reasons, was to address the fact that many of the directors, lawyers, and CPAs felt that their clients had been exposed to annuities with no alternatives.
Yes, and that's a very dangerous thing for an elderly person to be told certain things will happen if they buy this quote-unquote product called an annuity.
And oftentimes they're sold by money center banks, and they bring them in because they see idle money sitting in a savings account earning 0.0, or the checking account or the CDs paying less than 1%. And they will say to that person, let's take your $100,000 and we're going to invest that product. But most of the time when the client is dealing with that branch manager, they think they're talking about a bank product. Are they talking about a bank product?
That's correct. They're talking actually about an insurance product sold by an insurance company that happens to be a product that the bank chose to show to its clients.
So they're marketing an insurance product. It is not a CD.
That's correct. And unfortunately, in the sales process, there are certain words that are used that because the client's sitting in a bank lobby.
So they say it's insured. And
exactly.
What does the client hear?
Well, the client hears FDIC insurance, which is not accurate.
Now, they didn't say FDIC insurance,
no.
But they know they're sitting in that branch. They're looking at that window on the front, and in reverse relief is FDIC. And when they say it's insured, most of the clients that we find that have one of these products, when they heard that, they heard FDIC, even though the salesperson did not say that.
That's correct. And the salesperson doesn't really go into the explanation that the insurance is actually the insurance company's insurance, so to speak. And of course, that's not FDIC insurance.
Well, in fact, there were a number of annuities sold in this area that were insured by a company that the federal government had to bail out. And so the reality was is that insurance may not have been worth the paper it was printed on.
That's correct. You have to be careful when you hear people batting around those kinds of words. You got to get the explanation out in front.
And then the next piece that they routinely hear is it's guaranteed. Now, you hear guaranteed, that means guaranteed to get your money back right now.
Correct. And in every annuity I have ever looked at, the client says, well, my money's guaranteed. And we call the annuity company and we say, what can we get out of the annuity today? And there are surrender charges, redemption penalties that could last as long as 7, 10, 20 years. So they can get a certain piece of their money out, sometimes all of it, but not for several years. So they can't get the guaranteed money out tomorrow.
And many of these
they
products, it may be 5, 6, 7, 8 years before you can get back your investment. So it's guaranteed that you will get it back, guaranteed by an insurance company, but it's not guaranteed you're going to get it back immediately.
That's
and many
correct.
times there are substantial penalties.
Yes, I was looking at one the other day, and the penalty to get the money back was 14%. That the insurance company would take right off the top and give you the rest, and that's a big chunk of money.
And interestingly enough, they didn't disclose the commissions. There's oftentimes a correlation between the commission and the early withdrawal charge. And the reality is, if the person had been told that there was going to be that kind of a commission paid, they probably would not have bought that product.
Well, there's no conversation in an annuity contract conversation that says, I'm going to get a commission if you give me your $100,000.
Well, you know, people think that's somehow shocking, but you buy a life insurance product, they don't disclose the commission that are being paid. You buy an auto or a homeowner's policy, the insurance company doesn't disclose the commission that are being paid. So there is no different that they're not disclosing that in that annuity sale.
And if a client is savvy enough to read the statement that they get after they make that purchase and give that insurance company $100,000, they'll see when they get that first statement that the market value is no longer $100,000. They subtract the commission, which could be $8,000, right off the top. And so they see a $92,000 amount, and they wonder where their money went.
And then they see these bonuses. But these bonuses are required that you must leave it in the product for many years, and many times you must take it out in monthly installments over an extended period of time. The fact is, the bonus, if you actually do what's called a present value calculation, in most instances is not a benefit, it's actually a detriment.
It is. It's just what I call a sales hook to get the client thinking that they're getting something for nothing.
And to obscure the commission.
Of course.
Sandy, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.